Of course, we can check in with the bracket to see what has gone on so far here through Group A, as we do have up towards the top. It will be Denial Esports moving on in first place here in Group A, and then down towards the bottom. That means Murloc Geniuses find themselves down in the lower bracket, and they'll be going up against Team Name Change. It will be the rematch from our first series of the day, and if StarCraft 2 is anything to go by, normally when we see these double elimination groups, the loser of our first match normally goes on to then win in our second match. Not as common here in Heroes, though.
Even in North American Heroes, actually, every time we played in group stages, whoever won would then lose, or vice versa.
Yeah.
So
Perfect.
It is pretty amusing. And honestly, I think TNC has kind of looked so good, and it looks like they've gotten better over the course of the day. So I think they have a really good shot against Murlocs here.
I agree. I think a lot of it comes down to what compositions they decide to run and how they approach them. I think we were talking about the Zeratul Thrall, how we would like to see him try and pull away from that. Personally, Goku on Zeratul overall, I think hasn't been too impressive. His Thrall is one of the most intimidating. So I'd like to see them go more of that route, put Goku on somebody a bit more comforting.
Right, okay. Well, we'll find out what our maps and our drafts are going to be, obviously, in just a little bit here. But Murloc Genius is in their first series against TNC. When coming in as the American champions, the current North American champions, didn't look as powerful as we were expecting them to coming into that first series. Is that fair to say?
Absolutely. There's no question in my mind that Murloc Geniuses is not as good right now as they were at the last event. At least in their first series, it wasn't even close.
No, yeah, I agree.
They looked so much less polished. Even to beat TNC, they had to use crazy stuff like Cho'Gall Ariel, and then they barely won a Kothan Zagara game by the skin of their teeth. I mean, it did not look like the ultra-polished, super synergized Murlocs that we saw at Burbank.
Yeah, I agree. And I think a lot of that comes down to whether it be they understood the meta at the time or anything, but there is teamwork as well. It does seem a bit less fluid than we saw from them in the first time at the last regional. And it's actually probably in history the worst performance, I think, at least so far, from a winner into the second regional almost ever that we've seen so far. I think the only other major drop-off might be like maybe you could argue GFE at Worlds, or you guys. I don't know if you guys count, though. I mean...
Wow, that happened.
It's not like we didn't do the same thing. We just did it earlier, so...
That's true. A long time ago, actually, yeah. It definitely looks like they're not as well-oiled a machine, but is that down to the fact that there isn't as much hunger there for them in this tournament compared to what it was in the first one, where they did have BlizzCon sites, they were able to attain that position. Going into this one, I say it's only about money. It's still a lot of money, but it's not as prestigious, one would say, for them, at least, as they've already qualified.
Different teams and different players react differently, I would say, to success. I mean, we've seen Dignitas has had success and then come back and still be good at the next tournament. But a lot of teams tend to follow this up and down cycle just because, you win a tournament and then maybe people take it lax, they're not as serious, or even if some take it seriously, maybe it was just their patch. Who knows? But definitely Murloc's not as impressive.
Yeah, and I think even Dig going into the last regional, they were very... it doesn't really matter. It's not that big of a deal.
Yeah,
we're kind of here to just play, and we'll see how whatever happens, happens. But I very much think that mentality, even if you have that mentality, if you are truly the best within your region or one of the best, this group stage should not look as rough as it may have for Murlocs. Even for Dig, it seemed a bit more swift.
Yeah.
Or at least in the quality and the polish. Even if they lost the game, you weren't like, wow, right? It just seems a lot different between the two.
And of course, Dignitas are the best. Let's take a look at Murloc Geniuses, of course, here, as we have... What's wrong, Dredd?
Nothing. Of course, Dignitas, they're the best. Just number one at BlizzCon? Is that what we're claiming right now? Are you willing to say that?
Probably not.
Okay.
All right. Let's go into take a look at some of these teams, of course. We had Murloc Geniuses just before, but this is TNC here, who are challenging for that second place in this group. And for all intents and purposes, they do have the potential. We saw them in the first series against Murloc Geniuses. Murloc Geniuses didn't look as well-oiled as they did in the first regional. And now here, TNC is looking the best they've ever looked at a regional.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think it's a huge shout-out to them. They've never even pulled it above the bottom two slots ever. It's the best showing that they've really had as a group.
Yeah.
And I think going into this, we already know draft-wise, there's a 0% chance that Zag goes over to the hands of Murlocs. Beyond just talking about how successful Cawthon has been without it, I don't think that they are willing to risk that in this last, like when your tournament's life's on the line, you don't give your opponent what they're absolutely known for. Even if you lose, you'd rather, in most situations, you'd rather lose knowing you took them off that and the draft get wonky than let them have it and then you lose and you're just like, we know we stood no chance.
And we could have denied that potential from happening. The thing is that when we've seen TNC drafting throughout the entire tournament, they haven't gone Zagara themselves. So it almost has to be a ban if that's going to be the case. They can't or if they did first pick it, it would be out of the ordinary for a team like TNC considering their current position.
That's a comfortable position kind of to be in compared to some of the other hero picks.
Right.
It's not like a niche one that isn't objectively in the meta, considered one of the best. So you can first ban Zag and it not be the end of the world, and you can second ban it. So I don't think it's that detrimental as if, like, let's say it was like Auriel or Medivh. You suddenly, if you have to ban that, it gets really scary in the draft.
The last 4 games we've seen from TNC, it's been Thrall first pick.
Yes.
Does it now warrant a ban? Is it enough to warrant a ban here?
I don't think Murloc needs to ban it. I think they can early pick it, actually, and just put Cattle on Thrall because he has a very good Thrall, and then you've denied Goku the only hero he's looked amazing on at the event so far. So you deny that Thrall. I think that's actually going to be one of the keys of this series, is which team gets the Thrall in each game.
I agree, and I think another one might be the Li Ming. Bud's true. Even though I don't like him not running dominance, or like we were talking in the games, there was a couple of situations where he's drawing too many resources from his support to where the ones who really need it, usually the melee assassins, aren't really getting it. But I think that is another hero that both teams could be very, very influential on, especially depending on the map, like Curse. So,
all right, we are into the draft here, of course, brought to us by HotS, as we do have Zagara going to be banned out from team name change. Now, do they pick up their Thrall, which is also, we've already mentioned, their comfort, but no, it will be a false start to start things off on Cursed Hollow.
A double stab, possibly, at the comfort picks for Cawthon. Maybe he's going to be a hyper-focus for them. They do get a Li Ming, though, so it's a really good pick. So are they going to worry about the Thrall now? Is Murloc's now the one who decides they want to remove? Instead, they decide not to.
Murden has been outstanding this whole tournament, I would say.
I agree.
So I'm not surprised to see it valued this highly. I think it deserves to be in, that 1-2 slot, probably for second pick. It's just a shame, I think, for Murloc Geniuses that they're not going to have access to this Thrall. There's no way that team name change skips that up, I think, here.
I think at the same time, though, Fury has been less impactful on things other than a Murden as well. Like, not only has Murden just been a legend, I think very few tanks have looked good outside of maybe Calf on Leoric, which he's always known for, and very few players are known for the Leoric.
Yeah.
Outside of that, I don't feel like Fury's been that great, so I don't mind that they moved into that, obviously, other than he is really good.
Well, TNC has gone for their entirety of the damage now, so False Start, Thrall, and Greymane, so that gives Murloc Geniuses the opportunity to throttle them in some kind of tank situation or into the support. What do you think?
This draft is really scary for me. If you're a TNC, you have shown that you need to pick a tank and you need to pick a support here, and Murloc Geniuses has a ban opportunity plus a double pick, so they can do a lot to manipulate TNC's options, and here we go, tank ban, Tyrael.
Yeah, it's essentially it's Murloc choosing what do we want TNC to have.
Yes.
They have so much control in this rotation. When it comes to the draft, TNC now looking to try and worry about what their ban is. I mean, Murlocs have objectively a very strong composition with very many routes that they can move down. I don't know who they're going to be worried about next. I think Murlocs might move in to a more unique playstyle. I don't want to see them with the Zeratul. We talked about the Zeratul. He's come up a lot. I think they might move down that route. But I don't think it's the best, especially into like a false stack Greymane Thrall. I don't think those are some of the better players to be moving into that style of comp.
The question here in the draft for Murlocs has to be, what do we put Cawthon on? I mean, we've seen, you mentioned maybe this draft is kind of targeted at him by TNC, but Murlocs, they have to pick something for him. I mean, Faye will probably be the Li Ming, unless we see something crazy like a Vikings.
Yeah, I think he can play the Li Ming. I think
you think so?
I think he can get away with it.
Ooh.
Maybe not.
Abathur ban.
All right.
That's actually interesting from TNC. I mean, Murloc doesn't have an Abathur clone target yet. We talked a little bit about the double Murden, but we haven't seen it come into play. Is that a Brightwing?
Yeah, is that a Brightwing?
Is a Brightwing, and that's pretty early. So,
and it stitches.
Oh,
double tank. We just said it before this. We have 2% core. We've had the Vikings on Dragonshire.
Yes.
All we need is double warrior. We got
Yes.
Stitches, and it's in a double warrior combo.
Not
We
like
are
this.
officially Europe.
You are officially.
We're Europe.
Yeah. You're. Yeah. I'll
Except for
agree.
the solo support Brightwing. That's very hit. Well, I guess it did see play.
It did see play.
Yeah.
More so actually in Europe last regional compared to the other ones in the past. So that's a thing. And also Stitches, being a bit more common on Cursed
Leo.
Hollow compared to most places.
That's the route they moved down. They went with the Leoric. I didn't think they would.
What I wanted to see here was Leoric Monk. That's what I'd like to see in these last 2 slots.
Yeah,
Take the
yeah.
Leoric Monk, and then suddenly Stitches and Murden are both liabilities rather than assets to your team, just because, Murloc Geniuses had the opportunity to lock Team Name Change into a smaller subset of support and tank, but then I feel that by picking the Stitches, they actually made it really good for Team Name Change to pick up the Leoric, whereas their next best option was like a Johanna or something on Cursed Hollow.
The more I think about it, the more that sounds amazing. Like the amount of blow-up potential you would have if you did go Karazim, but it's gonna be Uther, it's gonna be D-Shield all the way.
I think I don't like that choice nearly as much. They go with the Medivh as well. Murloc's.
Ooh.
Oh, man, this is such an interesting choice coming out from them. Li Ming being the main source of damage, having 2 mages that are kind of. Li Ming, true mage.
It's
pseudo mage though on the side of Medivh.
Yeah. It's all about the combo. It's all about taking them with the Stitches and running behind the wall.
They can get away with it. I just don't know if I like that choice. I really feel like the Uther pick put Murlocs in a really pretty position if they just make sure they have enough damage to deal with the composition.
Yeah.
But now that they now that they go into the Medivh, I think it's a lot of risk to where they're putting too much bank into the Stitches. Stitches is a great hero. He has a spot. I feel like right now they've committed too much to making sure he is the only win condition really for them overall. Because again, the Karazim combo, you entomb, you gust, and they're dead. And if they aren't dead, they're so low that you're going to be panicked. And so I would have liked to see them worry less about the Stitches at that point.
Well, because now, of course, Stitches is a warrior that can do a lot of damage. We've seen his numbers being fantastic, even in that warrior position, with slam build, etc., for that double warrior setup. But behind that, all they have is the Li Ming for that damage.
Normally, you want kill pressure off of hooks.
Yeah.
First thing first, when you're picking Stitches, you want kill pressure. It used to be KT, used to be Jaina, used to be Tyrande. Any of those, you get the kill when you land a sweet hook.
Yeah.
With this composition, maybe?
You can get away with it. Like Li Ming, technically, like a Seeker, even Calamity, can do enough, but I don't like it as much as some of those other ones. Again, the hard CC, Murden has to always be following up with a Storm Bolt. Outside of that, I don't think it's nearly as appealing. And again, there are a lot of tools available on the other side of the table to where I'm not totally sold on it.
All right, it is time now. It's our decider match here in Group A between Team Name Change and Murloc Geniuses. Boys, who are you looking out for? Is it going to be more Medivh? What are we thinking?
Psalms Medivh was very good in the qualifiers for previous events, so I'm going to be looking at that and seeing if he has the synergy with Fury.
All right.
For me, Justin, I think having him on the Leoric with the style composition that we have, we really need. He's got to step it up. He's got to be playing very well.
All right. Well, thank you very much, guys. We'll be checking with you after the game. For now, let's head over to the Xfinity casting desk. It's Jay Howe and Trixer bringing you the final series of the day.
All right, Trixler. Well, this is it. This is the decider match. One team is going to play Sunday. The other team going home.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on this?
Man, this draft is so odd for Murloc Geniuses. I wonder how they're going to be able to pull it off. Dunktrain's completely correct. Psalm ran a god-tier Medivh during the qualifiers. It's probably one of the most first impressive Medivhs we've seen in North America, so potentially seeing him today could be great. But on the other side, you have Team Name Change, who have set themselves up to literally dictate team fights. You got Leoric being engaging, you have Thrall at 13 who gets his power spike, and then you have Team Name Change as well with the Grey Mane, just really bringing in so much damage and so much control that I just wonder how Murloc even believes they can win these fights. But we'll see how it goes. We have the action now occurring in front of us in this bottom right lane as Cathan will start poking.
I mean, if you get a chance for Li Ming to get some free damage, why not? As you can see, they're taking advantage of that. And we saw something of a little bit of rotation like we had before. There's a little bit of follow-up. The stun and the polymorph. Not enough damage, but nice little magic missiles landing there at the end to poke away How to win. And this is allowing, or it's forcing Butts to rotate down now, but Brightwing can kind of go where she wants now.
That'll put some pressure on Tiger JK. Now, it is kind of interesting in terms of laning how this matchup is going to go for our teams. We have Medivh in the middle lane here trying to deal with the York, and then you have Stitches in the top lane against Thrall. And while Stitches can hold that lane, he's going to have to be using that Devour to try and to survive in any way, shape, or form.
Did you see The voting on that for
No, what was
TNC,
it?
88%, I believe.
The people believe,
The
man.
people believe in TNC. Is this going to be the first time that they're going to make it out of groups and make it into top 4? Twitter thinks so.
Yeah, it's possible. This team is starting to click, which is important. They've brought their chemistry together, they're using their teamwork, and they're not throwing games like we've seen in the past. If they continue down that path, they could totally take out champions from regional #1. Now, looking in the lanes here, we have pressure occurring from Kathon and June, but that's the most they can do here. If you look in the middle lane and the top lane, they're getting pushed in like crazy, which means that middle tower and that top 4 is eventually going to start losing out on any type of ammo in the future, which means pushes, when curses come, could be a liability.
If I told you that Thrall was going to be laning against Stitches at some point today, would you believe me?
I mean, I would say, sure, but what's Stitches going to do in that scenario? He's not going to win out the poke-out wars because Thrall sustains himself, and there is a potential of a rotation occurring because of Falstad that Stitches could be killed off right away. Even with the ability to have the tankiness with that dampened magic, he would still get poked down. Look at this. Fury is already at half health. Now, of course, he has his own sustain with the E, but it's not quite enough against Goku, especially with Goku being on that Thrall. He's taking full advantage of it.
I mean, they've given Goku exactly what they wanted. Cattle missing the Storm Bolt. They're going to Dwarf Toss over. But the interesting thing about that bottom lane was the fact that Brightwing has passive healing.
Yeah.
Tiger JK on Uther does not. He had to go. He went and he ended up having a Hearth back, and I think that's given the early advantage. But you can see Goku taking advantage of his 1v1 with Fury. The hook not going to land there. But this is kind of an interesting thing. It's past the 2-minute mark, and now we see the siege camps are picked up. Time for the first tribute.
Yeah, this is a good spawn for Murloc Geniuses because we have the pressure in the bottom lane occurring here for Team Name Change. They can defend that and also poke around the tribute, so it works out for them. The RNG not quite working into the favor of Team Name Change, but we're going to see how they're going to handle the situation. Justing is important for me. I want to see if he's getting the engagements on that cattle, getting the W's to really try and proc him away, so use that Dwarf Toss to get out of the fight rather than engage.
I feel like we're going to see a lot of this. Medivh just being a bully, and he's not really going to hurt you too much, but he's going to come in there, and that's why I'm curious if he's actually going to use the Master's Touch at level 7 and whether he's just going to stack that. But as you can see, he is just completely being a nuisance right there. Yeah, they're putting a little bit of damage on him.
You need to be a little bit careful there, Psalm. So I'm actually going to be able to start walking away, but he is moving. Phase shift does occur here. Brightwing will be showing up. She did get a little bit of an experience lead for the team, so June will come on down, but the bullying here for Team Name Change is a little bit too much. They grab the tribute, Psalm is forced to retreat. And yes, at level 7, we're going to see Master's Touch. Psalm is a master on Medivh. K1 Pro needs to be taking some notes right now if he's sitting in his hotel lobby watching this, because in terms of actual working in those queues, especially against double tank, you're going to see, or the 2 melees, 3 melees in fact, Medivh is going to get so many of those Q procs that he should have it done by the good 14-15 minute mark.
I'm pretty sure K1 Pro is probably feeling pretty good. They went 4-0 today.
I mean, yeah, they went 4-0, but I'm going to judge him a little bit on his Master's Touch, man. He was missing so many of those things. We talked about it in the back. He said tomorrow or Sunday he'll be showing up. But here we go, Psalm now using that bird form to engage and check out Goku. He could actually move in here with a force of will. The Hookaroni! Goku taking some damage here. There is a force of will. 2 members trying to hold down this line. They will be forced to retreat. Oh no, June now showing up as well. Here comes Cattle over the wall. Bud showing up, and everyone is scuffling suddenly at 4 minutes into the game.
I mean, this is just over a camp here, and they are going absolutely crazy. We saw stellar play on both teams. The fact that you have Falstad able to fly in, Brightwing came in, joined the party, Stitches with the hook that landed perfectly. Yeah. They still weren't able to pull it off, so TNC still in control, grabbing that camp. Next tribute going to be sodding here in about 10 seconds.
I like the aggression from Murlocs because they do have 2 tanks, so that means in the early game they do have the tools here to bully around the mercenary camps. Team Name Change doesn't really turn on until level 10 and then also 13 when they get that giant killer for Thrall. They can finally start dealing with this, especially with the York helping out with the Drain Hope. But Murloc showing a little bit of life in the early game, and they need to do that. It's very impressive.
Well, that is going to be second tribute picked up for TNC. They are using that early game aggression that we talked about. When you talk about Thrall, when you talk about Greyman, when you talk about Falstad, it's almost like you can dictate a lot of the early fights. Murloc Geniuses just can't really bring a whole bunch of damage. They can bring a lot of denial, a lot of delay, but at the same time, TNC can just move forward on it and basically deny a lot of what we see Murloc Geniuses trying to do.
Yeah, we'll see if they can do that, especially with the third tribute coming up, and momentarily, a couple minutes here, we're going to be seeing Team Name Change going for that first. Now in the middle we do have some aggression already. Force of will save Cattle and the portal to get him out, but you see how 3 members can jump on one target immediately and to start bringing that damage. If a force of will is not there from Psalm, Murloc Geniuses is going to start seeing the deaths scoreboards start ticking up.
Yeah, it looks a lot different when there's no Force of Will on there.
Yeah.
But it's going to be another Siege camp being picked up by TNC, but matching that is Murloc Geniuses. This is going to be on a little bit friendlier side for Murloc Geniuses. And guess what, Trixler? By ignoring those tributes, that experience lends in their favor. They're almost level 10. I'm curious if they're going to try and delay, look for level 10, then possibly be aggressive, or whether we're just going to see TNC give this one up.
Yeah,
I think that's what they're going to do.
Brightwing's already in the bottom right corner trying to get to that level 10. We do see Team Name Change above in the top right corner, but with Cattle zoning that out, they decide to give it up. And I think that's the correct choice here. They already have a lead in the tributes. They want to move to level 10. They have Buds making up that experience lead that they were not near with Murloc Geniuses, although Fury does show up in the top right corner. If he does hit 10 during this, he could elect to pick up Gorge.
There it is.
There's a hook. Does he get Gorge? He does pick up Gorge. Cattle's here for the Stormbolt follow-up. Brightwing coming in with the Polymorph, and that is going to be
Wait a minute.
Trying to retreat. Does he get away? What? He does barely escape here, and there is a Mighty Gust now available, and Buds does survive.
Oh, Tiger JK getting body blocked. Another hook is going to land. The Polymorph is down. Tiger JK, can they get the kill? Oh, how do they survive that, Trixler?
Oh my gosh, the damage is just not here. That was just June, and Fury trying to bring out the damage with the aid of the two tanks. I mean, they don't bring it in. They had the CC, but it just wasn't enough. In fact, Team Name Change was so confident they didn't burn Divine Shield or even Mighty Gust during that entire fight.
I did not see that coming.
That was was a thing.
You know what was more interesting about this fight? This tribute up here, TNC, what we saw right before that was Falstad taking out the well up at the top side. That's actually a really big point when we look at this fight. If it's a drawn-out fight, there's a well on the side for TNC, not one for Murloc Geniuses. That play could dictate the first curse of the game. We're about to have a little bit of a standoff. Murloc cannot afford to give this up.
All right, we'll see how they can handle this. There are heroics up. Gorge is a low cooldown, so they have it able. They do also have the
my
Polybomb.
Goodness.
We do have the Entombed Hold Stitches here. There goes the Mighty Gust to push a few members away. Bud saving their teammate now. The Polybomb has been used as well. There's only 2 heroics left. We still have a Divine Shield available. Justin trying to apply damage as well. And there we go. The Divine Shield being procced. We're going to be saving our members, and there's still mark for the kill if anyone gets low.
Man, I mean, what are we seeing right now? The Gorge, but the Entomb landed perfectly. The Mighty Gust there, it helped isolate. Nobody died on that side, but lots of heroics have been used. And now, again, Murloc Geniuses cannot afford to give this up as you see Justine coming in, just biting his way in. But how does this play out? Trixler, this is crazy right now.
Yeah, the focus starting to really come into effect here as Chthon and Psalm are really working in those attacks. But Goku does start to move forward here, starts bringing the aggression. Buds is already grabbing the tribute, and they're zoning out just enough. June will be forced to use his Emerald Wind, but there's no follow-up here, and Buds now gets the tribute, and that is a curse going to Team Name Change.
I'm curious what TNC is going to do with this curse, though, Trixler. I mean, right now they've got this top fort open up, but at the same time, the threat of Gorge is here once again, and I'm curious if they're going to try and be aggressive. Falstad flew to the bottom. He's going to be able to get good push. The minions obviously are much stronger now, so they're going to get a lot more value out of this, but Brightwing coming back in.
Oh, the Entomb misses.
The Entomb, but he jumped right into it.
The Sundering does come out, and Thrall does start to run away. The Cleanso will save him, and once again, there's no damage to follow up here. I feel like the Gorge value goes down dramatically during a curse. There's no fort to help out securing that kill. This is a 4v5 right now, and TNC is holding on while the entire time falls to the bottom lane pushing. They do lose Greymane here as well as Justin, but they get a fort in exchange, and they are moving towards level 13, so it feels like it's worth it here.
It is. They gave up the fort at the bottom. Justin, he's going to get good value out of this bottom wave that's pushing in. You know what? Last regional, I said Fury best tank in NA.
Yeah.
Right now, he's making a case once again. You can put him on any warrior, and he plays it well. The hooks that he's landing are superb, and the follow-up between the poly and everything that we're getting between Brightwing, between Medivh, it's all executed really well, but again, the lack of damage could be the concern there.
Well, at 16, Murden does ramp up if it give him the axe, okay? He'll be able to bring in that damage, so they will have the pick-off potential, which will be incredibly helpful. And if they do get Entombs to be wasted, like we've been seeing already, I do see Murloc at level 16 turning into a scenario where they can start to win the fight. Already, though, in the top right corner, we have Team Name Change taking the advantage of their teammates being in the, or the opposing team being in the middle lane. They're grabbing this boss, but Fury showing up with that hook, with that Gorge, is scary enough that you just give up on boss here.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that Li Ming was actually halfway across the map, but there's the Gorge in the portal. There it was. They got through. Can they get the follow?
June?
Justin in a lot of trouble. There he goes. They trade kills there. That's a Leoric for a Brightwing. That actually works over in favor of TNC. The execution was well, but we saw June get caught out there.
Yeah, the Emerald Wind was just a little bit too late, but I like the concept here. They're getting the poke-offs. They're going full all in here on picking somebody up and getting into a number advantage so they can buy before. The execution is just a tad bit off, and that's because Team Name Change has been willing almost decisively to jump in the moment they see a Gorge. We saw Brightwing get picked off there. The last time we've seen the Stitches being picked off. So in terms of actual coordination, Team Name Change is calling out the shots and they're executing. If they keep up with this all the way up into the late game, I find them being great against this composition that Murloc has pulled off.
I'm so surprised at how well they're executing against Murloc Geniuses. You know, the Entomb was kind of the answer, and then all of a sudden the portal came down. How excited are you to see the Gorge into the Medivh portal? But wait a minute, we've got Justin and team. They're rotating in. They recognize that Medivh, they know where he was at. They're going to come in. They're looking to steal this, but this could be a huge fight right now.
Yeah, Sundering is down and Gorge is available once again. Fury just eats up the Leoric and grabs it. He brings him behind the wall, and Justin will be killed off here as they will be able to get off the last second portal. I thought Stitches was going to be burned down.
I did too. They instantly turned on him, did a bunch of damage, and all of a sudden he disappeared. It's like, where'd he go? Oh, there's a Medivh portal. Let me go ahead and take you right back here, right next to this keep. Goodbye.
The trust that Fury has here from Psalm is almost, gosh, I'm kind of jealous that he has that with a teammate, right? He knows he's getting low on HP, he knows he has the heals from Brightwing, and he has the portal at the last second to save him from being killed off. The synergy between these two is almost fantastic. Now, we are about to hit level 16. Again, I want to see if Murden is going to be picking up that damage, because a little bit more damage seems to be needed in this comp.
And it's not a whole lot more damage. I mean, they just need that little bit of extra to get over. I think that's definitely going to be the pick. You can see Justine already back on. That's Leoric, even in death. I mean, he's going to be able to come back a lot quicker than anybody else. But they are back at it very even in terms of experience. But now on the flip side, we've got Murloc Geniuses with 2 tributes and 0 on the side for TNC. They're going to need to contest the next one.
Yeah, that's the big deal here. Murlocs are definitely be going that route. And the thing is they don't even have to body their way in to the tribute. They can just float around, poke, and wait until they get that hook potential, where TNC wants to grab the tribute to deny the curse. So it is going to be a scenario where Team Name Change is going to have to hustle a little bit, and they would love to have it before that 16 does hit. But it doesn't look like that will occur. Murloc's going to be in a great spot to grab that. Cattle, though, is down here on the bottom left, sees that the opposing team is looking to contest the boss if they were grabbing it. Unfortunately, they are not doing so, but they are in prime position here to start grabbing this tribute in the bottom right corner. We do have Brightwing grabbing 16, though, at the same time, so they will have a slight power window here that they could bully their way in.
They're going to have to rely on Medivh to try and delay this, as well as the other warriors. Li Ming was forced to go back and defend against that siege camp that's pushing, so I wouldn't be surprised if Murloc Geniuses, they seem to have a little bit of a delay, but I think they've got to get this one up. They recognize the map importance, especially those lanes. Of course, the keep's ever so important, because when that goes down, that's going to be when the catapults start pushing, and that is when you're always on a timer in team fights.
The moment that hook missed, you kind of lose out on the entire all-in strategy that they're running there. So they decided to pull back and wait on it. The magic, or the actual, gosh, the Master's Touch that Psalm is so good at, again, hitting it before the 14-minute window has completed. It's a good call out there by Jayhow. In terms of leveling,
I get excited when I see it glowing yellow, because you're like, finally, that's when you know you're going to get that damage.
Yeah. And I love that Psalm right now. He's already got the Master's Touch. All he has to do is keep tabs on Thrall. The entire game, Team Name Changes has Thrall and all their series coming around for flanks to get the pick off. If Psalm is able to catch that in advance, Murloc Genius is positioned to where they don't get caught off by it. It's been helping out this team dramatically.
Well, there's the power of the portal. Medivh games are always so interesting, because you're like, wait.
Is it? Maybe? Sort of? Question mark? Question mark? Leoric now taking some poke here as well, and Team Name Change is a 16 as well. I want to look at the...
Oh my God. Them the X.
We didn't give him the
stun.
X. Yeah, stun here.
That's a stun, but they've isolated Psalm. The Entomb is out here. They get the kill onto Medivh. Nothing there. The Divine Shield has been used. Goku, he's going to look to possibly re-engage, but Justin in deep. That is a trade there, and now we see the damage starting to come out from Murloc Geniuses.
Cattle chasing down here. June helping out with the auto attacks. Chthon chasing down Goku, and he looks like he will be killed off. He's doing just enough to survive here, but the dive here on Medivh was a little bit too much. At the same time, Greyman in the bottom right corner is being supported by Tiger JK. The body blocks a little bit too much. Here goes the Dwarf House into stun. Chthon does land the orb as well, and I guess there is damage here as they take down 3 members.
3 members are down, and you know what that means? Tiger JK isn't going to survive. They're fighting under the fort. Cattle taking the damage. Is he going to be enough? June, those passive heals will keep him alive, but more importantly, the fight goes on. The hook with the Gorge. I'm curious what's going to happen here. I mean, keep in mind, this is a curse if they get this as Brightwing TPs in or phase shifts in.
You gotta wonder about that
Wow.
call chasing down the Uther, because now there are heroes starting to spawn here. Thrall's up in 5 seconds, Greymane's up as well. Buds and Leoric could delay this if they really want to deny the curse. But even if they don't deny the curse, they have enough heroes here to actually defend the push that could be coming. That chase down on Uther was a little bit of a mistake. You can see how it's really gonna start paying off here in the future here for TNC.
The more interesting thing is the fact that Murloc has an entire level lead. But if we look at the minimap, all 3 forts are standing for TNC. That's about to change. But the fact that they're going to be able to benefit from that experience means that they've got that. Falstad, he's in deep.
He went in for the engage, but there was an instant polybomb to prevent the Mighty Gus from going off, denying the engage there. Yeah, Solom is like, no, we're not playing around.
There's the hook landed onto Goku, forcing out the Sunder, but it was canceled. The Sunder did get canceled, so the animation went through. He's got 5 seconds for that's up, but they did use Mighty Gus for the disengage.
Well, the good news for team name changes, they've defended this fort, at least in the middle, and they've wasted, what, 15 seconds here on the actual curse itself, which is a big deal. And they still have Divine Shield, Sundering, and Attune if they do find a pickoff. There is a fort that was killed in the bottom right corner, and the fort in the top right is getting some damage as well. But in terms of defense, team name change is doing well. Fury, though, going for the portal. Can he save Goku? Goku does have Sundering. Polybomb goes off once again. Goku dancing around. There goes the Sundering. JK does show up. Divine Shield still available. June will use Emerald Wind, pushes everyone into different angles of the entire battlefield, and they're trying to focus down anyone important, but Solom and Chthon are playing so well. Members are starting to fall here as Chthon is getting the resets with Calamity.
I mean, this is huge right now. As you can see, Tiger JK, they're going to go ahead and chase. They should be able to secure the kill. There's the hook. It's going to allow the follow-up. He stays alive, but down goes 4 members of TNC, and look at this. The entire time, that is part of the curse. That keep is under assault. This should be the first keep of the game. They're going to get this. I'm almost a little bit surprised they didn't try and just send 1 or 2 members down and start a boss somewhere else, but they're almost level 20 now.
Come down here and get the free keep. That way you get the pressure from the minions. And
or just in the game. Or just in the game.
Are they going to go for the core?
No
20
Mighty Gus
seconds,
anymore.
10 seconds and counting. There is no Sundering, no Mighty Gus. You are correct. Kato bringing in the damage, and somehow, some way, we doubted the Murlocs, and I'm not sure we should have here, as they are going to dominate the core here, breaking it down. Here comes Thrall, but there is no Sundering. Emerald Wind from June will secure the core kill, and that is gonna be GG.
I almost wonder if Falstad would have just stayed alive there. They had enough that was coming back. They could have delayed this a minute longer.
Easily.
I mean, that was... It seemed like they had it in hand, but that moment, like, what happened?
TNC falling apart. I believe themselves were wondering why they were losing the matches so much. I believe
Gorge?
the Gorge combo and the Emerald Wind that happened in the middle of the map was key. He isolated 4 targets in a different direction because they dived in to save their Thrall, and it was a little bit too painful, and he saw that Murloc Chances took that wave and rode it all the way to victory.
Well, we are going to hear what our panel has to say, because that was one exciting game. Let's toss it over there.
Yes, it was, Jay Howe. Thank you very much, as that is Murloc Geniuses showing us why everyone is kind of scared of that combination there between Medivh and Stitches. Very, very powerful, boys.
They got a lot more pickoffs, actually, with it than I was expected. And on Leoric, too, a lot of the times, which mostly didn't matter that much, but it was still so threatening. We saw Thrall multiple times get Sunder interrupted or just has to get the D-Shield way early in the fight. Can't get any value out of it because there is so much threat from that combo.
I mean, there's not much to say. We've seen it before. If you can't deal with it, honestly, I don't even know the overly proper response other than engaging on them before they engage on you type situation, or focusing the Medivh if you can get a flank on him if he has to use the portal, because with that build he no longer has instant portal all the time. It doesn't have 100% uptime, but I mean, they weren't able to deal with it. It was just watch the Gorge portal, watch them die, and Murlocs will get a win.
Right. Well, let's take a look at some of the moments there from that game, actually, as some of them may end up being a few of those Medivh Stitches plays, but of course this was the fight against the Knights, as everyone decided to join in, and both of you are having the time of your life when watching this one.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. I love when teams get that aggressive, even over a camp like that early on to the game, make those rotations. But here's one situation where we see it and it dishes it out. Look at Leoric all the way out there. He could have technically gone through the gate, but he was still dead. Yeah. No matter what, with that port. But I mean, this is it. This is the whole strategy right here.
Where's he gone? Oh, he's up there. Oh. And that continued throughout the game, basically.
It did. It really did. But this team fight was really devastating. You can see the dominance got so much value.
Yeah.
Cawthon was at like 1 health, and then suddenly, oh, someone died, blink in, Calamity dominance. Someone died, blink in, Calamity dominance. Suddenly,
Yes.
instead of having that Li Ming barely surviving the fight at 10%, to clean up, he's now at 50, 60% HP, and there's no way to turn that around.
I mean, that had to do with like some of the criticism that I put towards like Buds and his build in the series that we saw before this. So if we see it onto it, because again, it's just the talent is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, you pretty much can heal yourself to full whenever your team does even kind of well in a fight.
That fight actually that was highlighted just at the very end was actually one of my favorite fights of the day so far. Seeing the dynamics between the two teams and how they're able to play it out was very, very cool to see indeed. So obviously them taking their first game there. Dragonshire is going to be our next map here, and it will be team name changes choice. So are they going to be able to tie this up? That's the big question, because right now, as much as they are so much on the cusp of actually being able to get into the top 4 for the very first time here in a regional after being here so long, that game there showed that Murloc Geniuses is still on point when they get given some of the tools that are very, very formidable in their hands.
I think what this shows, TNC, I think they're moving to the map. Not only is it one of their favorites, but then putting it into a position where they feel like they kind of got cheesed in the first one. And I think they're much like they felt in the first series, that they're trying to get to a map where they feel like even if there is cheese, it's not going to be enough to be able to stop us from having a shot. Granted, again, the Thrall Zagara argument still holds absurdly true into this next game. And then whether or not we see Murlocs pull out another kind of crazy strat, because they seem to be hinging on the idea of catching their opponents off guard this tournament a lot more than, and I don't know if that's a strength or a weakness right now. I think it's going to tell as we move on, but right now I'm usually not too sold on that style of play this early on.
Exactly. They played totally standard, I feel like, at the last event.
Yeah.
And they did really well with it. And now, Stitch's Portal and stuff, that's cool, Cho'Gall Ariel, but I feel like TNC could have seen the Medivh coming and banned it out. We were talking about this in the draft phase. Didn't they ban Medic? And then
they keep banning Medic.
They just
it's
banned
the third
Medic,
time in 5
then
games.
The Stitch's Medivh that we were talking about absolutely destroyed them. So I don't know if they will do that again, but we've seen MG play Medivh. I don't think you should give it to them.
I agree. I mean, I think Medivh is slowly but surely becoming the monster like he was made to be. With the portals and everything, it's like teams are finally learning how to play with him. Sorry about that. Yeah. That's how I feel when I talk about Medivh. I just choke up a little bit on the inside because so much potential. But it's nice to see that finally teams are getting to that point.
Yeah, it is very powerful. I remember back when it was actually revealed to us, Medivh and in his kit, and we instantly knew that there is so much power behind it, and only just slowly working his way in is he actually showing that formidable play that we actually see. But anyway, we can get into the draft in just a little moment here for Dragonshire, brought to you by HotS here, as we do have TNC going up against Murloc Geniuses. It was the Zagara ban, surprise, surprise, and a Thrall ban is warranted in the first round.
The Thrall ban was excellent. It was exactly what I was hoping to see for Murloc Geniuses. So TNC picked the map. They know they're going to be second pick. Murloc Geniuses took perfect advantage of that and said, okay, Thrall's important to us, Zagara's important to us, Falstad is important on this map. Ban out the Thrall, you have to ban Zagara, we get Falstad pretty much for free.
And you get no Thrall, and then it puts in a position where TNC's Goku is going to be moving more towards the Zeratul, something that hasn't been too impressive. I think I would be thinking that's something we can definitely deal with. It was a really good approach already from Murlocs to this. This is one of the few times this tournament we've seen ETC higher prioritized than Muradin. So I wonder if they have a decision with that. I think that's because they like the Zeratul ETC pairing. I mean, the Mosh follow-up, dropping the Void. They did it rather smoothly, their version of the Wombo. But again, I don't know how sold I am on going in that route.
Especially considering how hard Muradin dominated the last game. Yeah, he was a little light on damage at the beginning, but in the end game, he was a monster. And every team has just shown how good they are with that. The Zul pick.
And maybe a Johanna to follow up to make sure that they've got full command of the kind of rotations that they want here on Dragonshire.
I think I'd still like the Muradin more than anything, just because how strong he is, the CC that he sets up. You can go JoJo. Like it wouldn't be bad. I just think they have so much options. If they end up picking up the Muradin here, their comp is just absurdly strong.
Johanna is widely regarded as a counter to ETC, at least, for Mosh. I don't
yeah.
know if they think that's the scariest thing, given they already have Gus, but it's something to keep in mind.
Right.
Every team, there's probably nothing that feels worse than dying to like a 4-man Mosh
Yeah.
and just being like, oh man, I had a hero who couldn't interrupt.
They go with the Uther, though, instead, which is kind of a solid response because always being able to, you have a double failsafe. If somebody gets trapped, you can stop the person to be able to get the interrupt. Kerrigan is going to be removed here. I know this is crazy, but if TNC is going to move into Zeratul, I want them to pull out Jaina. I want them to not only for the wave clear in the early half of the game, but then the potential wombo combo that they have, and then also the kill potential it provides in the early game is something I think they need against what is already a very dominant composition for Murlocs.
The last time we saw Uther on Dragonshire, we didn't get to see any, does Divine Shield onto securing Dragon Knight still work?
It does. It still works.
It does work?
I mean, it has to be timed properly,
Yeah,
but
of
yeah,
course.
it still works. I mean, we saw actually June misplayed that on Towers of Doom. He straight up mistimed his Divine Shield to be able to stop what was going to be his channel in winning the game for his team.
Yeah.
Why do you think Team Name Change banned out the Kerrigan here? Because I don't really see Murloc Geniuses playing Zool Kerrigan. And I think that's the thing that surprised me most about this draft.
I mean, it's a good question. I think it's not terrible if they did go into Azul Kerrigan. It's kill potential and wave clear, and it's an absurd amount of lockdown. It's very easy to be able to get it. I mean, I'm not saying that. I want to say that I think it was terrible. I agree with you that it seems very risky if they decided to go down that route, but I mean, obviously they feel fearful. I mean, their TNC already has been the whole tournament banning certain things that we would consider to be a little bit off. So they have their own priority of what they think is absurdly good or bad in a lot of these situations. And Karzim over Rhaegar, strange choice there.
Especially considering we didn't see it last game where Karazim looks perfect last game in those last two slots. They have two big tanks, you can 7-sided and absolutely destroy them with Leoric, and they didn't go Karazim, and now this game, the enemy team is, showing a Zool, Falstad, Uther. There's no tank yet. Of course they're going to pick one, but there's no indication that Karazim's even good here.
I was looking back into the drafts from today, and they did end up going Li Ming, ETC, Karazim, but it was against the Cho'Gall comp. So, I mean, unless they were anticipating something like a Cho'Gall, but I highly doubt in this position that it would fit too well. There was so much healing with the previous one, so,
It's definitely a different style if they were to go Cho'Gall, and I've had the impression he's not great on this map because it's hard to control both shrines.
Yeah, definitely.
But, maybe the Falstad can make up for that. So, I haven't been there for every scrim, so I don't know what these guys know about each other. And maybe Cho'Gall was a legitimate threat. But here, Murloc Geniuses basically gets to pretty much last pick the Murden if they want, which is insane considering how good he's been this tournament, and then follow it up with any range DPS like Tychus, and they're in a great position.
I wonder if TNC went with that, maybe with the 7-sided Void option if they move into the Zeratul. For them. Oh, there it is. The first time we've seen the hammer. She's going to be popped out there, providing an absurd amount of threat to whatever lane she decides to stay into, and then Murden as the last pick for them.
So, by far, Murloc Geniuses today has been wild in terms of their drafting compared to anybody else for a long time.
Yeah, definitely. They have been all over the place in terms of their approach. And that's either one of two things. That either means they're absurdly skilled and they have a really solid grasp of a lot of different things, or again, they just want to keep catching everybody off guard because they feel like they can't take it if they know what they're doing.
They have that comfort, though, because, again, they're already qualified for BlizzCon. It's kind of exactly what I said about Dignitas in Europe. It's like, this is like an extreme boot camp, and they can just kind of throw these things out and just be like, is it going to work? Yes? Okay, great. Then more money for us.
It seems like Murloc Geniuses is just trying every strategy that we mentioned on the cast. We're talking about Cho'Gall Ariel. All right, guys, I heard the caster talk about it. Let's try it. I heard about Sergeant Hammer. Yeah, let's go for it, man. Why not? Dragonshire, she used to be good there.
Yeah, she used to be. I wonder where they're going to put her in terms of the laning. Typically, you would see her in kind of a tri-lane on the bottom half, or at least concentrating on winning top and then drawing so much aggro on bottom that nothing else matters.
I mean, regardless of the position, though, I just want to kind of interrupt you on that and ask you, as a whole, Sergeant Hammer, for people that aren't there, may not be keeping up with the patches as a whole, she has had some changes. Can you run us through a few of those and why we're actually seeing her here?
Well, I think the two biggest changes why she has so much value is, I mean, number one, she was given 10%, her level 4 talent, giving you the 10% auto attack range is default. And then that opens up the opportunity to take focus attack at that area, which now leads you to having an absurd amount of damage. And I think it's that change alone is the biggest change that really made her like suddenly terrifying. Because when you saw her be able to take those things in the past, she was just almost unstoppable. Like during the Rainer Hammer era, rip in peace, but it was terrifying.
It's a weird time.
It was a weird time. It was very hard to deal with. Those characters were insane, but I think that was probably the biggest change overall that really made her a terror and competitively viable.
Does she fit here, Dunk? Is she going to have some power here for Murloc Geniuses against TNC? What do you think?
Personally, I'm not a huge supporter of Sergeant Hammer. I think in general, they could have gone to Tychus here, like I mentioned, and I think that would have been stronger.
Right.
I'm not sure what Sergeant Hammer brings to the table that's, special or unique about Sergeant Hammer, rather than picking up one of these other range damage dealers that we've talked about. Mm-hmm. It's just... I'm not sure. It looks a little sketchy to me.
I like Hammer on Dragon. I just think typically you need to run it in a way where you have that top laner is just going to be very, very, very dominant.
Yeah.
And I mean, recalling on their draft, I don't believe that is the case for them with the 2 dominant laners already removed, because you pretty much run it like a Chinese 2-1-2, but it's a 1-3-1 instead with just 2 solos that are insane.
All right, well, let's get into it. Team name change versus Murloc Geniuses, and look at that. Look who's on the Sergeant Hammer. It's Chthon look for Murloc Geniuses. Boys, who are you looking out for here in this game?
It's got to be the Hammer.
Got to be the Hammer?
I don't want to watch Hammer, but I guess I will.
Say it.
All right, Chthon, let's see what you can do. Will you add another hero to your hero pool or not? This is the game to find out.
Or will you be Zagara and Zerg forever? All right, let's get into it. We're going over to the Xfinity Caster's desk with Jhow and Trixler.
All right, Trixler. Well, those guys might be a little bit surprised, but I kind of had a little inside track. I got to watch them practice this kind of behind the scenes last week, and let's just say that it's terrifying. We talked about having that top lane. They've got Zul, Hammer, making the return.
Dude, Chthon has been on the Hammer train for almost years at this point. He's been around for so long. His Hammer is terrifying. Now, team name change on the right. They do have tools to deal with this. They have the Willing Arrow to get an engage, and if they hit that Willing Arrow and focus down Sergeant Hammer quickly enough, they can really kind of dive into this comp and then go from there. But execution is going to have to be key, and they've been showing it the last couple of matches that they can work together as a team, and they're going to need it. This is definitely their test here, because remember, if they lose this match, they're going home.
Yeah, and I think they're definitely knowing that they can play within themselves, play what they want. You have Sylvanas, so why not go ahead and rotate up, take advantage of that? Is it enough? When Hammer says, well, let me just siege up here, throw down some damage, you can see one tower goes down. There it goes.
And you see Chthon, he has an escape route already set up down here in the bottom left. He has mines available to knock anyone off that might be on their mount, so he can Z up and run away. Nice positioning by him. He has June backing up right away, and Fury's in the top left corner. In terms of positioning, Murlocs know how to run Hammer, and you're going to see them rotating as a group and really making sure they're having the flanks solidified so Sergeant Hammer can do work here. Sergeant Hammer already going down the bottom, going to be setting up, and they have ETC and Li Ming facing off.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting thing because Li Ming does have the range to be able to deal with that. With the extended range on the base kit of Sergeant Hammer, it makes it a little bit more difficult. You've got to get kind of in that little bit of a danger zone to be able to land those skill shots. So I'm actually curious of how might actually build a little bit different to deal with Hammer.
Oh, we do have Tiger JK and Goku coming from the side, but Cattle immediately drops down the Bone Prison. The follow-up from Murden with the Stormbolt. Justing in trouble now, being focused down. Chthon trying to retreat, will be living with 90 HP, by the way. Justing and Goku taking a decent amount of damage as well, and Zul will go back to owning the middle lane while Sergeant Hammer will tap and heal on up.
Well, I love the pickup. I had a little bit of an opportunity to talk to Tomster about the level 1 for Zul. A lot of people still on Shade, but the cooldown is a little bit longer, so a little bit of splashback damage seen coming out here from Zul to be able to deal with potentially some of that dive or to try and deal with that front line of ETC. If you pick on ETC enough, he's forced to back up, and you've got Sergeant Hammer poking him away. It reduces the amount of threat that he could have with his power slide and the potential mosh pit.
Yeah.
If they choose that, we might be seeing a stage dive coming out here.
Oh, we could see that. Chthon look, and the team will now be grouped in the bottom right corner. And actually, the more I think about it, I actually would love a stage dive. There goes the Stormbolt, though, into a Bone Prison. Fury going in for the body blocks, and Justing is being picked off. This team that is not meant for rotating is rotating better than the opposing team and getting kills off of it.
The lockdown potential of Zul allows you to do things like that. Saw him, he's trying to contest up at the top. It doesn't look like they're going to be able to get in the middle as Buds is going to be able to capture the top shrine. But in the meantime, it's forcing you to deal with the threat. Sergeant Hammer just in range of the minions. And now let's see if we re-siege up and possibly do some bottom lane damage.
Yeah, you're going to see June and Zul controlling that bush area in the bottom right corner. Cattle is actually moving to the top left to try and help out get a fight here on Buds. He turns around on Goku for the last second here. Goku Goku will get routed. There is the hammering to apply the damage as well. Goku trying to retreat, but the Stormbolt might just be enough here. Bud's low on HP. Cattle showing up. The Scythe will secure the kill. Nice teamwork here by Murloc Geniuses. But yes, bush control is very important here for Hammer. She can siege up and do this the entire time. Keep attacking, and you see June and the rest of the crew just dealing with that with 2 members already in the top lane.
I mean, that's just pinpoint execution. That's 4 kills in 3 minutes. They've now built themselves a level and a half lead, and they don't even have a DK yet they are just sitting there sieging up. They've got Hammer. They've got the entire wall in the bottom lane down already. That's huge. Yeah,
it's a pretty big deal. And Chthon is consistently using his E there to siege up to try and get Pooh to throw out any type of damage he can here, but Li Ming is just not able to proc it, and if he does, June has just enough healing to keep him topped off, so Chthon is never in a situation where he's threatened to walk away.
I'm kind of curious of the rotation here. I mean, they have Karazim now up in the top, which means that they have no true support that's going to be down in that rotation. We've already seen the deadly assault from this rotation when you talk about the lockdown potential with Zul. So I'm kind of curious if we're going to see this switched up or whether that's something that's fit into their strategy right now, because their backs are against the wall.
Yeah, Team Name Change is trying to figure out how they handle this movement that's currently occurring, because right now Murloc Geniuses is in the driver's seat, and they know it. And Tiger JK will be able to somewhat trade with Psalm if he's able to ever get on top of that bird and grid his auto attacks in, but Fury was actually on his way on up. Psalm baited the attack by allowing a couple of attacks come from Karazim, and one more pickoff is awarded to Murloc Geniuses.
Did you see the way that he held on to that Stormbolt? He waited for the perfect opportunity, knowing that patience is a virtue when you play those heroes. That's why Fury is so good at what he does, allowing his team to make plays based on what he's able to pull off. And now Hao in a little bit of trouble, but the power slide going to get the stun onto 3 people to keep him alive.
Yeah, I'm kind of curious with the idea of putting 2 people down here in the bottom right corner. That completely allows Sergeant Hammer to do whatever she likes. If they ever have a number advantage, Sergeant Hammer is never terrified and have to retreat. I would love to see more aggression down here in the bottom right corner. And finally, it's happening, but it's too late. A dragon is snuck away. Murloc is ahead 2 levels here, and Sergeant Hammer is laughing as she continues to push his bottom lane.
I mean, just the power of Hammer. I mean, think about if you have a DK.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden you're like, you know what? I'm not actually going to duel out with this DK. Let me go ahead and bring my friends by the name of Sergeant Hammer. The mines are down, and that's going to be a little bit of a threat. But keep in mind, if you try and get onto this DK, but they are doing a lot of damage very quickly, and they just happen to boot Goku in the back there, out of position. The cleanse is used. Are they going to get the follow-up? Goku rotating away, not able to join the fight, but they are able to force Murloc Geniuses back, and they keep the fort. But level 10 about to be picked up for Murloc Geniuses.
Yeah, and that's a big win here for Cattle and crew. They don't even need to really get this fort down, although they're going to try. But getting level 10 gives them the power here to actually threaten taking this fort down, even if Cattle falls out of this huge, meaty, robust dragon. And you see Justin and them kind of dancing around, but they can contest this. They're trying to maybe get into a pickoff situation right now before they hit level 10, but you're going to see them just back away. This fort is dead. They need to get to level 10 right now, and they need to stay away from their opponents.
You know, the questionable thing for me is TNC, I think they realized that late game they're going to have to make stuff happen. Level 7 picked up Wisdom Duelist for Greymane. That means that you're counting on getting kills.
Yeah.
Right now it's 5-0. They've been dominated so far in this early game, so I'm kind of curious if they're hoping to kind of get that late game rotation to be able to capitalize on a talent pickup like that.
Yeah, at level 10 they do spike a little bit with Greymane, Li Ming, getting those resets available. The Willing Arrow is going to be key here. It needs to hit a healer, it needs to hit Sergeant Hammer. 1, so she can't mount away, and 2, so the Divine Shield isn't able to connect in time, so they're able to get the kill off. Tiger JK will be able to dash away. Justin, though, has used his power slide, and he just walked down here, immediately taking on the fight, and this is now a new open avenue here for this fort to be getting damage from this team.
I mean, that entire thing is Tiger JK getting caught out. It forced the power slide out, but it forced the power slide in the other direction to be able to get the lockdown, else Tiger JK was going down. Puts you in a vulnerable position and goes down. Not even level 10 yet. That's a tough spot to get caught out. But, you know, on the same side for Murloc Geniuses, if there's ever any dive, they have somebody named Fallstead with the heroic called Mighty Gus.
A little heroic.
Things get hairy, you just say, no thanks, we don't want any, we'll see you soon.
Well, there is good news for Team Name Change. They finally hit level 10 here, and they're not in a situation where they have to contest shrines. They can take a breather here and potentially set up to move in for some engagements. In fact, you see it here. Justin diving in on Sergeant Hammer. The cleanse comes out. You're going to see Chthon immediately pop his boosters here and run away. And this is a 5v4 that's had a couple of major heroics already used, or not heroics, cleanse being used for both teams.
I'm actually a little bit surprised at that cleanse. I don't think it was necessary for ETC. They were Murloc Genius was already backing up. I don't think he had the potential to follow up on that, but you you see Psalm starting to rotate down to join the fight. Is he going to be able to use that Mighty Gust to force him back in the position? The root is down on ETC. The follow-up, are they going to get the kill on ETC? He's getting very low, and now the Skeletal Mages come out, but first to go down is Li Ming justing. The palm is triggered, but that is not going to be enough to save him, and that's 2 more kills for Murloc Geniuses.
Yeah, Psalm's Mighty Gust missing there because of the Bone Prison, but it doesn't really matter. They still get 2 takedowns here. They even take out ETC twice. Once with the Divine Palm, and the second time when he came back with his health bar, was immediately taken out. Again, the pressure continues for this team. Falstad flies top, Zul gets bottom lane, Sergeant Hammer and crew hold down the middle lane. And Psalm by himself can hold off against this Karazim, as he's going to be able to apply some damage to Tiger JK if he would like to eon in. Can you get in there and stop it? He doesn't even need to. He holds on. Goku, though, is moving his way to the top left corner. If they can get this kill, this could be big.
Barrel roll better be coming in, and there it goes right across the wall. But Goku, always a threat when you talk about Greymane, but another Dragonite being picked up here. Rotate into the bottom. I'm curious if that's enough to delay to allow Hammer and the rest of the team to possibly do some damage in the top lane, or whether that's a real threat.
Yeah, I think he's going to put a little bit of pressure up there, so Greymane's forced to defend, and then you join up with your Sergeant Hammer. She needs a little bit of protection just to make sure she isn't dived upon, and that allows her to siege up and start breaking down this fort, and she's going to do it immediately here, using Napalm to clear out the walls, and then Fury's down here on the Dragon, which he can do anything he wants, man. They've won the objective, so of course he'd be down here putting the pressure on, and now they're going to start contesting keep walls here. They have a 3-level lead right now because Murlocs are just playing this flawlessly.
Between Cawthon and a DK, those walls don't stand a chance.
I love June's positioning here, man. Yeah, I feel like June hasn't quite been hitting in the other series, but in this series in particular, he's been on point with positioning, and he's keeping his teammates alive. Look at this.
Just
Goku
like
wants to go in for a flank. TNC is getting famous to me for wanting to always go for flanks, and June's able to deny that. There goes a Mighty Gust. I think they maybe could have gotten Goku there. There goes the poke. Goku is dead. Justing is going to be popped back by the wave of force, and really, Murloc is just running a clinic right now.
I mean, you saw the initiation, but Greymane was already caught out the Bone Prison. This is actually something I talked about last night with Dread and Dunk about whether Zul is a good counter. Keep in mind that if you go the disengage, I believe it's 3 seconds for Greymane, but the trap on the Bone Prison takes 2 seconds to execute. So it's a matter of if you land it the minute he comes in, you can punish him for moments like that.
And they are just doing that. Murloc and crew will now be grabbing any mercenary camp they can as they move on to that goal of getting to level 16. Now, they do have 1 fort exposed in the top right corner. Cattle can start applying some pressure there, but you see, in the very bottom, Sergeant Hammer, they're looking at the mercenaries. That one's a bit aggressive, but they do have a 3-level lead, and as long as they don't do anything too advantageous, they can keep that lead.
TNC realizes that the minute they hit 13, level 16 is going to be there, but they're diving in. Fury, he is going to be able to stay alive. He's got the Avatar. The Mighty Gust is out. Goku hits the palm, but now we see the cleanse onto ETC. Not enough to follow. Tiger JK goes down. Goku getting stunned. He's going to go down. That's 4 people down. Buds, is he going to be able to get out alive?
No.
There's the fly over, and it is a full team wipe.
J-How, they were this close to level 13, which would have maybe given them some tools to maybe go for that. I do like the aggression, because so far they've been playing a little bit passive, so maybe some spontaneous aggression could throw off your opponent, but Murlocs are ready to go. And first off, you dived on Fury, who is Avatar State. He's going to survive through that, especially when he has a 3 to 4 level lead. This is now a keep being killed off at 11 minutes into the game here. Murloc's taking advantage of that failed attack from the team name change.
If your objective is to dive in and blow up a Murden, you might not be having the best of luck. I mean, it's a tough thing. They had to make something happen. They realized their opportunities are going to be few and far between, and right now they're going to be down a talent tier. They can't keep giving up DKs. They can only survive for so long. Yes, you have Li Ming who can do a lot of damage, but they're going to have to make something happen. All the heroics are back up. You've got to land the best mosh of your life, and then to be able to get the kills on it. Wiz and Duelist getting 0 value. Still, 0 kills to 14, Trixie.
It's looking pretty poor here. The thing is, team name change has changed their strategy to, like, rotate as 5, kill somebody, please. And that's just not occurring. You see Murloc Genius is playing very cautious here. Whenever they see someone pushing in, they move Cattle into a position where he can push a different lane with that Zul. Now they're going to go ahead and try and move in and trying to develop a fight here. Tiger JK will be forced away. That allows the entire team to focus Justing down here. The Divine Palm does come out, rather divine in my opinion, but Goku follows up with an orb, applying some damage as well, and you still see huge health bars here from Murlocs. They're just so far behind in levels, the damage is negligible.
Very healthy, and Psalm using the power of Falstad just flying up, grabbing that DK, and they're going to be looking to possibly take another keep. The fact that they're the talent tier up, they're 3 levels up, they're going to be able to be very aggressive here, and there's not a whole lot TNC can do. Perhaps they should be going by TSC, Team Strategy Change right now.
Dang, that'd be a good name. That'd be a good name. Chthon is just going to keep up the pressure here, and Solomon doesn't really have to do too much in terms of damage.
There it is.
Oh my gosh, the ETC coming in for the power slide immediately shut down, and Justin has got to be hurting after that one. Well, and keeps suddenly in trouble. Goku is being died. There goes a stun. The Fire Breath bringing in some damage as well. Goku looks like he may just be able to retreat. Solomon's Dragon will finally be killed off, but Sergeant Hammer is still set up, still shelling away at the keep, and this could be a kill off.
I mean, that was just a huge moment. The cleanse was there. It came in just a little bit late. I believe it was interrupted. We saw the Unstoppable show up on ETC. Maybe not where they wanted. They still have their eyes, and you talk about level 16 for Hammer. Hey, guess what? She's able to move a little bit now.
Yeah, just able to reposition ever so slowly, but just enough to put enough pressure on their opponents and keep moving forward on getting that keep killed off. 2 keeps down at 13 minutes into the game. Team name change trying to find a way back into the game here, and their only chance is to get 16 and maybe get to a fight before level 20. If they're not able to do that, level 20 Sergeant Hammer becomes incredibly powerful with a couple of options she has available to her.
I'm afraid at anything that they choose. Sergeant Hammer showing, and it's not even Sergeant Hammer, I think, that's been kind of the MVP here. It's been the lockdowns that they've been able to get out of heroes like Zul to be able to get the lockdown. We saw the early kills, and they've done nothing but capitalize on rotations. 15 kills to 0. I did not expect that with this composition.
Yeah, I was not expecting this much of a beatdown, if you will, but Murloc has obviously put in the work here to make sure that they are using this composition effectively, and they're continuing to do that as they move towards their own level 20. Right now, Team Name Change is floating around trying to find scenarios where they can grab experience, because right now it's being denied in the middle lane and the top lane. They will get the bottom lane experience, and as soon as they see Falstad and Cat on the top, they should be pushing bottom, and they are, because that gets them closer to 16, so good call by them.
Yeah, it's getting him to 16. Obviously, Justin using the same strategy, zoning out. He's being able to be that body, be that beacon to be able to get over there. But the fact that you now have Sylvanas coming in, locking it down, they're getting some structure damage. That helps secure them level 16. And now we see Falstad potentially looking to push in with some catapults and then fly down and join the party.
Yeah, and the thing is he can actually fly in here and go for a Mighty Gust and just push everyone in. Granted, it's not quite a vibes against Sergeant Hammer, but right now Murloc is so far ahead, it seems like they can do no wrong here, especially if Psalm gets the correct engagement. Here he goes, he moves on
There's
in.
the Mighty Gust, is it going to come out here?
He's actually just poking here, he's saving it, he doesn't have to use it now. There we go, pushing him in. Tiger JK is being focused here as he is the healer. There goes the mosh pit, and the palm does go off, but 2 members have already been burned down. Murloc denies the entire push here from Team Name Change, and that could be game here. The entire team pushing down in the bottom right corner, going for the aggression. Going through mid lane could be strong here. They already have catapults, but again, they have 2 options because they've already taken down 2 keeps.
I mean, they don't really have to do much more but walk up and start right-clicking. I mean, this is just a dominant performance out of a team that we expected dominance out of.
It's finally showing up.
Li Ming has it at 4, just wrong team for this game. But this is going to be Murloc Geniuses moving on out of the group stage. They had a little bit of a rough start to the day, but they have finished strong here, Trixie.
Yeah, unless they follow their chairs right now. Nope, they have not. I'm checking. They're good to go. That's going to be GG. Murloc Geniuses moving on to Sunday's games. Congratulations to them. A bit of a bumpy road, but they've made it.
I mean, this is what we expected, and the fact that they busted out Hammer on Dragonshire, I kind of knew it was going to be coming at some point.
Yeah.
The fact that they busted it out here means that they felt that comfortable with their scrim results to be able to pull it out here. TNC, I got to give them credit. They showed up today. Yeah, they had a rough few last games, but what I saw out of this team was improvement.
Yeah.
And I hope that they continue. We've got the Nexus games coming up in a few weeks. I think that this is a team to continue to look out for going forward.
Yeah, I'll definitely be keeping my eye on them. They're a team that I've always looked at as like the 8th team to make it out of the top 8 teams, right? They're always just barely there, but they showed up today, but not in this game. The Murlocs seem to have their number the entire time. Baits that were occurring in the top left corner. Had Psalm playing almost a perfect Falstad game. Sergeant Hammer doing whatever she wants. You never let Sergeant Hammer do whatever she wants, and unfortunately they just did not have the tools to break it down.
Was she ever threatened?
Well, she wasn't ever threatened.
I don't think
I saw a Divine Shield
threat.
that was important. I don't think I ever saw a Divine Shield to save somebody, because that threat was never there. This, I kind of liked, but obviously you saw as it failed out.
I mean, it was tough there. I mean, this was a moment where TNC realized they had to make something happen. Obviously, they didn't have 13, but 16 is right around the corner for Murloc Geniuses. Every single play that Murloc Geniuses seemed to make, as this was the end, and this is where they were able to capitalize and finish the game. But Trixler, we have an interview on the stage. I'm curious what they have to say about this last set moving on to Sunday.
What's up, guys? I'm Solid Jake here with Cawthon Luck. Congrats, my friend. So let's talk about everything today. Coming to this tournament, you guys are the favorites. Winners finals, or the upper bracket finals, you guys hit denial. Were you expecting them to be as strong as they were?
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know if we even considered ourselves the favorites. There's four great teams in this tournament. All of them have a chance to take it. And Denial played better than us today. We thought we had that game too. We messed up a little bit, but they played better than us today. And we're really looking forward to having a chance to play them again down the road.
Very cool. Okay, but now here, obviously over TNC, you guys just got that strong victory, and you didn't necessarily do it in the most, standard fashion. You busted out Sergeant Hammer in Game 2. You're known for your Zagara. You're known for your false head. Are you just trying to mix things up and make Hammer a thing? Because we haven't seen Hammer in so long.
I'm trying to play every hero once this tournament. I never expected we would get Zag again, so it was nice to have a chance to play her earlier today. But we've scrimmed and practiced under the assumption that we don't get Zagara and we just take the draft value that gives us. And so we're more than prepared with all these other strategies to deal with opponents.
All right, this one's a little bit more personal, Cawthon. I know this is your hometown. This is your home turf, and I believe your mother is even here supporting you. How crazy is that, being a pro athlete for a long time with StarCraft, now Heroes, and you've got family here live? Does that mean a lot to you?
Oh yeah, this is the first time my mom has been able to come see me at an event. I've had my sister come see me in Austin before, so the rest of my family better get to work. You're slacking.
They're slacking. Well, guys, we've got the panelists all waiting to break down the rest of the goodness. So thank you so much, and congrats again to Murlocs. We'll see you on Sunday. Take it away, panel.
Thank you very much. Of course, that is indeed Murloc Geniuses moving forwards in second place this time around here in Group A. And overall, what we saw there, boys, was a very, very well-executed version of that Sergeant Hammer play, and it seemed like TNC had absolutely zero answer to it.
I mean, they were losing the top lane with the Sylve versus Falstad matchup, even after taking out the front wall at level 1. And then, Zool was making sure with the hammer, you lost the other 2 lanes. And that's what happens when you lose all lanes on Dragonshire. You get 4-level leaded.
Yeah, a tough position to be in. Here is Group A as a whole throughout the day, as Denial Esports moved on through 2-0 up towards the top against Murloc Geniuses. Cthulhu there himself in that interview giving mad respect and props to Denial Esports, knowing that they were going to be strong coming into the tournament. Then down towards the bottom in the lower bracket, we see Team Name Change trying to give Murloc Geniuses a run for the money in the end. However, it was not to be, even though they took one game off of them in the upper bracket itself. So guys, got to ask you throughout the day, have there been surprises for you besides the fact that there's been some wacky drafts here and there? What has been some of your highlights from today?
The highlights for me were probably the overall amount of Medivh play, and K1 especially on Medivh, and the Towers of Doom game. That was great. Filled with shenanigans as Denial, jumped in and out of fights, got last-second Force of Wills, Leoric dying all over the place, just crazy stuff happening. And, they did get it in the end. They managed to finish that game. And, that game was just so crazy. It was my favorite.
For me, I think that game specifically as well, I think was probably the highlight. Like that, just the chaos that existed and how well Denial thrived in that kind of environment. And then I think the drafts, not so much... I don't think that they're refined by any means or like flawless, but I think it shows that somewhere between first regional and this regional, NA found something. I just don't know if everybody knows exactly what it is and how good it is. I genuinely think just with how drastic and diverse these are, that somebody found 1 to 2 strategies that debatably could be like world champion level strategies.
Yes.
I just don't know if we know which ones it is and how perfect to approach it and how to counter it.
Someone found that genie in the lamp and they're just running along trying to find out what's going on.
It's insane. I can't remember the last time I've seen a single tournament with this kind of diversity.
All right, well, thank you very much, boys, and a huge thank you to everyone out there for tuning in for day number 1 here of the NA Fall Regional number 2. Make sure to tune in tomorrow, same time, same place here, live from Seattle, Washington for PAX West, as we bring you day number 2, Group B of the NA Regional number 2.